The accused Buffalo grocery store shooter is in court this morning. He pleaded not guilty to the murder charge against him in his last appearance. So Jericka Duncan is following the latest for us. She's here to give us an update on the case. Jericka, you are in Buffalo. Good morning. All right, so what did we learn in court about this guy or about the crime?
You know, a lot of this is really procedural at this point, Anne-Marie, but we did see the accused gunman walk in at about 9:40 this morning. The entire proceeding literally took about 6 minutes, if that. The judge walked in at 9:38. The proceedings were over at 9:45. Here's what we know right now. They have not yet seen the indictment. The defense hasn't, but there is a report that could go out Thursday or Friday to give more details about a grand jury indictment, which basically eliminated, according to one attorney I spoke to, the need for a felony hearing today. He told me that he would then expect possibly a motion date for his client, Peyton Gendron, to be arraigned on that indictment. Again, though, they know that the grand jury has voted to indict, but they say that they have not seen that information in terms of what those charges consist of. We know that the accused shooter, again, pleaded not guilty to first-degree murder. So as for what exactly is next, it's still a little unclear, but the attorneys on both sides really aren't speaking. The district attorney released a statement basically just confirming that a grand jury had already received or voted rather to indict. They didn't give any specifics on that. They mentioned in their press release that they're not offering any more comment. And you have reporters that are standing outside the courthouse just waiting to see if perhaps maybe we might hear from someone. I saw the sheriff earlier walk across the street to the Erie County Holding Center where the accused Peyton Gendron is being held. He remains held without bail. So that's the very latest. But in terms of just giving you a picture, I'm not sure if you have any video that's coming in from the courtroom just yet. But he walked in very slowly. There were about 5 or 6 people accompanying him. He has 3 attorneys. We were told to not get video of the victim's family that apparently were in the courtroom. I didn't recognize anyone where I was sitting. I couldn't really see everything that was happening to the right of me. But I can tell you that as Peyton Gendron was leaving, someone yelled out, "You're a coward." But that was it. Again, it was a very short amount of time. It was the first time that we've seen him since he pleaded not guilty to first-degree murder.
Jericka, what about his family? Do we know if his family was present?
We asked his attorneys, are there family members here on his behalf? And they would not answer any comment. They wouldn't give any statement on that. So they wouldn't confirm it. They wouldn't deny it. But there was some speculation that perhaps he had family in the courtroom. There really were not a lot of people, though, Anne-Marie. And in fact, they moved us to the basement because a lot of these courtrooms are not that big. So to sort of accommodate the media presence that were there, there were probably 20 of us that were in what is usually the jury box, and then maybe 20 to 25 people that were part of the hearing. And again, I couldn't see everyone, but again, we do know, just based on the officers telling us to not film victims' families that were there, but I imagine there just couldn't have been very many, because we know that there were 10 people murdered, and there weren't a lot of people in that courtroom.
You also covered, Jericka, a visit by the members of the Buffalo Bills football team yesterday. They met with community members. They handed out groceries. What did they say to you? How's the community doing? I loathe to talk about strength and resiliency and coming together in the wake of such horror, because oftentimes people, like, that's all you can do, but it's so frustrating for people to feel as if their very existence is under threat, because these instances have happened so many times. So what did the Bills say?
So you had the Bills there, the Sabres, the Bandits, which is the lacrosse team, the national lacrosse team here. They all were wearing shirts that said "Choose Love." Choose love. So I think they were there to comfort this community and let them know, we know that you support us. You stick through us through thick and thin. That's the least we can do, is come down here for such a horrible event, to just let you all know that, you know, you're in my thoughts and prayers. They laid flowers. They took pictures with people. You know, it was a moment of excitement. It's been such a dark week and to see players that normally most people wouldn't get a chance to have any one-on-one time with was exciting. But I think from the people that I spoke to who live in that community, just like when the president came, they know it's not going to bring their relatives back or change anything, but it's nice to feel comforted and supported at this time.
All right, Jericka Duncan for us in Buffalo, where you have been pretty much all week. Jericka, thank you very much for your reporting. We so appreciate it.
Thank you.